from these reclamation decks infighting. You know, they basically got to a point where they're main decking so many cards for each other, from Negate to Mystical Dispute to Ether Gust. There's a little bit of splash damage with that last one, but for the most part, there's like no spot removal. You know what I want when I'm playing an aggro deck? To play against a kind of a mid-rangey deck that has 0 removal. Like, that's the dream.
Taking a look at Burton's hand here on the play. If you're going to the kitchen to grab one of those, I'll take one too. We got 2 Scorched Spitters, a light up the stage. Here's 3rd land for Anax. This is going to be a really fast start, and Baumeister on a mulligan here.
Oh, he's too good. He's not, I don't even think he's casting the light up the stage this turn. God, he's so good.
Not risking leaving anything stranded. Love that. Already
he
knows
wants to play the Anax next turn.
Yeah. There's a plan.
There's like 4 people in the world who would not cast light up stage on turn 2 there. And it's perfect, and it's so perfect.
Yeah, I think that is a card, like you said. There is a learning curve to light up the stage, and Brandon Burton showing us how it's done.
I was kind of surprised he didn't just fling the shock, but like maybe you just got to save it in case you draw Torbrand or whatever.
Yeah, or like if a 2/2 shark shows up, you'd want to shock that if like Growth Spiral and the shark happened.
Right.
I think Baumeister is readying a good game.
Baumeister's ready for the GGs for sure, but I think the big thing is that Brandon, Sandy Dog, double-checked the deck list to make sure there was no sweeper potential next turn before he slams both these 1-drops.
Hey, if there is a sweeper, it has to be sweeper plus answer to Anax, too.
Sure.
Fervent Champion, 10th Street Dodger, still hanging on to shock, still hanging on to light up the stage. Thinking.
Hold on. Thinking. It's my favorite thing is that's like the bad control players do, is they're just like, hold on, I might have a response. It's like, dude, you're not countering Scorched Spitter, and if you are, great, just do it. You're dead.
If you're gonna bluff, could you make it relevant to the game, please? Here's a 1/1 shark. That's getting shocked. We had 2 Spitter triggers, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Baumeister to 2. All right.
Don't blink. You'll miss it.
And there's a concession.
Dude, do you think Corey knows how much in trouble he is?
He was flirting with conceding a turn ago. I think he has a pretty good idea.
Things do get, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Things get a lot better for him after sideboard. He gets more copies of Storm's Wrath, more copies of Ether Gust, a little more interaction with things like Brazen Bar if he wants it. But I don't think it's enough. I just don't think it's enough.
Spectral Sailor can also trade with some of the 1-drops. So I think that generally sideboarding is going to help Baumeister more than Burton. I think that the highest hurdle, the most difficult problem, is that if Baumeister can win game number 2, he's got to take 1 on the draw.
Oh, for sure. I don't think that is a possibility unless Burton has a horrible, horrible game 3.
We've seen it. We've seen Burton mulligan and draw multiple Embercleaves, but not twice in the same match. Not yet today.
Yeah. Well, while these 2 players are finishing up their sideboard decisions, make sure to check out one of our sponsors, Ultimate Guard. You can get some of these awesome katana sleeves. I've literally been badgering Cedric Phillips for 2 years for some of these katana sleeves. He finally gave some to me about 6 months ago at an event before everything closed down, I think. They were nice.
A couple of years ago, nice. Back when Cedric was still living in Roanoke, stopped by his apartment. I don't remember exactly why. But you would not believe how many sleeves were just sitting there.
Oh, I believe. I was in his house in Seattle one weekend. I came up for the Grand Prix, the Legacy Grand Prix a few years back. And there's a lot of magical accessories hanging out everywhere. That was back when he was full in on working at Ultimate Guard too, and he just had stacks and stacks of these products to give away.
Right. I've been meaning to pick up some sleeves. I got Got some cube stuff I'm experimenting with. But let's talk about standard. We got to see our players looking at opening hands, and we're talking about Burton maybe needing to stumble. This 7-card hand is very capable of that. I imagine we'll see that one go back, and we do.
I would have been really interested to see him keep that hand, if only because he did have a 1-drop into light up the stage, which could have helped him potentially hit future land drops. But I think Burton is just so hyper aware that stumbling means death that he has to mulligan into a better hand.
Yeah, that hand maybe was defensible with 2 lands, but you're just in so much trouble if your 1-drop isn't interacted with.
Right. Like if they just Gus or Scorching Dragonfire or whatever on your 1-drop and your live the stage gets canceled, like you're just dead.
Yeah.
Can't do anything anymore.
You see Fervent Champion and Opt. The turn 1 plays for both players. Fabled Passage off the top for Baumeister. You see a consideration for a shock for Breeding Pool that would enable Growth Spiral this turn. And Baumeister's going to do it. He does not want to stumble on his side either.
Yeah, shocking for the Growth Spiral. I was actually considering maybe not doing that just casting another Opt, but I think the upside in like hitting an untapped land off the Growth Spiral and then casting Opt just provides you so much more card selection in such a short time frame that it's worth the 2 life.
See Tin Street Dodger, that's going to rumble in with the Fervent Champion. Nice pickup off a Growth Spiral for Baumeister. It's a Triome. That means this Fabled Passage gets a little bit better as Baumeister falls to 15.
Notably, he did bottom a Wilderness Reclamation a turn ago, so maybe left without that huge mana generation at some point in this game.
We do see the light up the stage from Burton there. It's going to find Scorched Bitter and Anax. Baumeister's going to play that Fabled Passage. Anax, the draw from Burton. Can't cast Spitter and Anax, so just the Legend.
Yeah, but this is a fine play pre-combat because it allows Shark Typhoon to not be as devastating. Even though it gets to eat one of these creatures, you still get a 1/1 for your trouble. Kind of replaces itself.
You do see a 2/2 Shark being made here to block one of these 1/1s. And it ends up just being a wash on Satyr tokens if you end up killing the Anax, because it goes down to a 3-power creature, so it's no longer giving 2 if it goes down.
Gotcha. A lot of expansion explosions drawn here for Baumeister, not really what he's looking for.
Yeah, very heavy on expansion. 3 of them there. Ooh. Well, let's make that 2, as he's going to use expansion on an Opt. Corey thinks, I need to get something going now.
Do you think Corey realizes he can wilt the Anax?
I believe he does. He left up Forest with this play, and he already has Mountain.
Sure. No, that's fair, that's fair. Now he has to. Corey, like sometimes, like I actually just looked up to make sure that I was right. The Anax was a legend or an enchantment creature. I remembered all the old Theros ones, all the old Theros gods and demigods were all enchantments too.
Corey is such an interesting player because he'll make plays, and sometimes after the fact he'll have that thing. We're like, Corey, did you know this? And other times he'll just do something without thinking, and it's just brilliant.
Yes, savant is the word that I like to use because it's just true. He's an actual brain genius.
And here is a nice swing for Baumeister. We see an attempt at Torbrand. There's going to be the Wilt, going to take care of Anax in response to that. That sets up this Storm's Wrath very nicely. Baumeister falling to 11, but does get to clean up this battlefield.
Yeah, this is a huge swing for Corey because not only does he clean up the battlefield, he also has Aether Gust at his disposal. So the next play from Burton is going to get dealt with one way or another.
Scorch Spitter. That one's fine. This Anax, though, that's going to get the Gust.
Yeah, and now Corey's going to get to untap at 11 life, which is reasonably healthy, and he can use Expansion and Explosion!
Ooh.
Didn't need it!
Reclamation off the top.
Wow, what a draw.
Was Was Corey considering the good game there? What was that?
I think he was gonna just say nice or something. He's also showboating for us because he knows that we're watching his side of things, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's an explosion for 4. A draw 4, dealing with the spitter, knows that Anax is showing up, but has a Shark Typhoon and an explosion. A lot of lands coming off of that first explosion, but still a pretty fine setup here.
Yeah, how many, what about the second one? What about the Shark Typhoon? Here's a 10-10. Red's pretty good at dealing with 10-10s flyers, I heard.
10-10s are a problem. 8-8s are a problem. 6-6s are a problem. 4-4s are a problem.
3-3s? Now you're speaking my language.
We can take some 3-3s.
I would make a 10-10, personally.
It's a nice clean number.
Yeah. Oh, he's going for the expansion explosion. Ooh, toddy likey.
A lot of cards ain't bad either.
Yeah. There it is.
And there's
I guess it's
Burton. I suppose like any game action is going to get the concession there.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess it doesn't really matter which one.
That my friend is a tight concession.
Yeah. Well, Sandy Dog here, gonna be on the play there for game 3. Let's see if he makes any changes. I don't think he's gonna switch much. His configuration after sideboard is very similar to what he wants. He might trim something like Bone Crusher Giant in favor of those red cap melees. We saw him do that in a previous matchup, but maybe that was because he was afraid of a very specific card that he knew that Autumn had or something.
And to an extent, you also end up playing the player on some level.
Mm-hmm.
The Team Reclamation deck, we've seen pretty radically different approaches and play patterns. Ooh, this hand for Sandy Dog on the play is super interesting, because if you can just assume everything works, you get Dodger into Anax into Embercleave. It's rocky against an Ether Gust, and you already have double Anax. I like the keep, though.
I like to keep 2, but at the same time, he doesn't have a 2-drop or another 1-drop, but that's most of his deck, so I'm actually fine just not.
Yeah.
And he
Why
draws
not
the
just
best
draw
2-drop.
one? Why not just
Best
draw
2-drop
one?
in the whole deck.
Here's a runaway Steamkin.
So many lands entering the battlefield tapped here for Baumeister as well. He might be dead before he gets to Storm's Wrath. Holy crap.
And that's kind of the thing, right? You do draw a card every turn, as kind of flippant as to say that. And also, what are you mulliganing to if you don't like this hand?
Right. I mean, just like double 1-drop or 1-drop, 2-drop. Like the Anax is...
It was a rhetorical question.
Oh, I'm
everything else is pretty comparable to this, is what I was saying.
Oh, sure. People always want Splinter Twin unbanned and modern or whatever. And like, dude, you can just play it in standard right now. Sandy Dog showing us what's up. Anax plus Embercleave. That's a GG.
Now this is really interesting. As we see Burton looking at that. This is of course the moment I forget the card's name. That copy of Subira in the hand. So there's possible that you want to engage in some pre-game effects. Possible you don't want to jam the Cleave into Ether Gust, or maybe even just putting it on a weaker creature is the play.
Yeah, I was thinking putting it on a weaker creature that wasn't Anax. Like if you go for it on Anax, it's technically lethal, but it leaves you so vulnerable to any of the 2-mana interaction. And then that opens up your ability to get hit with like Storm's Wrath. So what I would like to see here is for Burton to go for an attack and then Embercleaving on something like Runaway Steamkin.
So there, Burton declared the intention to attack. We see Gust on Anax.
A backup Anax, actually, just letting this resolve, not going for Cleave yet, and just playing the backup Anax might actually be the nuts.
Because you put the Cleave on the Steamkin, you get some damage, but it would die to Storm's Wrath. Yes, we do see backup Anax here.
Oh, I think that was a slight misstep from Baumeister. I think he put a stop on the beginning combat step, and I think he meant to put it. Sorry, he put a stop on the beginning combat step, but then cast his Ether Gust during the first main phase. You can actually He actually ended up taking an extra point of damage from the hardcast Anax from hand that turn.
Right. So if you're a Corey Baumeister fan, you hope that the game is not about 1 point, but for this red deck, it often can be. And now we have 4 Satyrs and a Castle Embreth.
Yeah, I mean, this game seems like it's coming real rough for Baumeister, but he has the first Storm Draft. That's step 1. Now he has a second one that's potentially step 2, because after it's all said and done, Burton's just going to have a 1/1 Satyr left over from the second Anax.
So the 4 points come across, backup Anax deployed. So now we have Baumeister at 7, Storm's Wrath, Burton down to just a Satyr. Subira has haste. It's just a 2-power creature, but it does have haste.
Yeah. This might be time for Embercleave on a small boy. That'll put Baumeister all the way down to 3 life this turn. Leaves him vulnerable to a lot of haste creatures plus Embercleave if he's able to start providing some defense.
Satyr cleaves up. Baumeister at 3. Burton with the haste creature in hand. Baumeister has some flash blockers here, though, so this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, Reclamation gives him enough mana to deploy multiple blockers this turn, too. Nightpack Ambusher straight up trades for the Satyr, even with the Embercleave on it. Embercleave plus the Castle Embreth actually does 1 short of lethal against the Nightpack Ambusher while still trading. So it'll be interesting to see how this next turn is navigated.
Well, actually, blockers aren't going to do it against Subira. Subira can come down and make this 2/2 Satyr unblockable.
Oh, you're right.
So concealing that information is actually super relevant here.
Okay, cool. Does that mean Sandy just has it next turn, no matter unless
I mean, Corey has to get really
finds
clever and Typhoon into something, right?
Okay.
That's the only possible way he could win this game. And I would bet against Corey having ever played against a Subira.
Yeah, but these are open deck lists, and he can maybe expect it.
Sure, yeah, you can read it on the deck list, but see a Shark Turbo. There is a difference in actually playing the games. And here's a 6/6 Shark. That's no good.
Wow.
So you're Severa. That 1-man ability, another creature with power to a left, cannot be blocked this turn. My Satyr, it's a 2-power creature, but it hits you for 4. There's the GG from Corey Baumeister, and Brandon Burton is going to advance to the semifinals here.
Yeah, that was maybe the least